welcome to my little awards show for PSVR2, which honestly doesn't really mean anything, because who am I to say what is best and what is not? Please leave your own games of the year in the comments below, because I'd love to hear what you think. Your opinions are just as valued as mine. There's no distinction between us, so I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. However, we have a couple of categories to go through, including my personal game of the year, best shooter, best social game, best PvP, best puzzler, best soundtrack, best horror game, best roguelite, best graphical fidelity, best audio, best hybrid game, best single player game, and best use of PSVR2 features. Let's kick it off from the bottom of that list, which is the best use of PSVR2 features, namely eye tracking. And we're going to throw a curveball in with this one, because I'm actually nominating two games for this. These two games have absolutely excelled in the use of eye tracking, either to make themselves more scary or to make you feel more of a powerhouse. Eye tracking and the PSVR2 features that are included in the headset, like haptics, are some of the best advancements in the industry that I've seen in quite a while. So these two games deservedly take this award, and the two winners for me are Switchback VR and Synapse. Two games that absolutely blew me away, with Synapse's implementation of eye tracking for telekinesis and Switchback with its don't blink segments, which never fail to make people jump every time they're put on the headset. So big congrats to them. They've made their way to the top of my rankings, and I honestly could not choose between them. So this is the one award where I'm actually going to give it to two titles. Working our way up, we have best single player game. The game which I had the most enjoyment in, just sinking in and playing it by myself. From start to finish, it blew me away with visuals, with its story, with its combat, and with its overall VR gameplay. Now this one took a little while for me to get into, because initially I wasn't really completely sold on all of its mechanics, but by the end it stood out as the best single player game that I've played this year on PSVR2. And I give that award to Resident Evil 4. The VR mode for this game is absolutely stellar, and as you'll see in the finale, maybe posted tomorrow or the day after, I was absolutely blown away by the end of this game, and I can't wait to jump back in and try it again at my own time. So congrats to Resi 4, it was the best single player VR game that I've played this year. Now for best hybrid game, I took a bit of a different approach to this one. Best hybrid counts for the game that you'll probably get the most value out of playing flat and in VR. And in terms of hybrid gaming on PSVR2, at the moment, one really stands out to me as giving a lot of replay value for players who are playing in the headset at the same time multiplayer with players who are outside of the headset. Best hybrid game for me is honestly Gran Turismo 7. It absolutely blows me away that I can hop into a race with up to, say, 20 flat screen players and have a massive track full of us all with a mix of PSVR2 and non-PSVR2 players, and the fidelity of this game as a hybrid game is absolutely unreal. GT 7 has to be seen to be believed, and it's the best hybrid game for me this year. Next up, we have best audio design. Many games have implemented some great audio across the board, whether it's to scare you or to enhance your immersion into an incredible landscape. And for me, there's one game that I played on day one that absolutely stuck with me with how intricate and detailed its audio design is. From the soundscapes in the general open areas, to each individual pull of the bowstring, and the whirring of machinery, that probably gave it away. The best audio for me is Horizon Call of the Mountain. Genuinely one of the best PSVR2 games that I played this year in terms of sound and sound design, so congrats to them, absolutely blew me away on the audio front. Now for best graphical fidelity, this goes to a game that genuinely blew me away with how good it looked. Running at an unreprojected frame rate with some of the best visuals on the entire headset, a game that came out a little while ago stands tall with the best graphical prowess in the entire lineup. For me, every time I boot it up, it blows me away equally no matter how many times I've seen it, and that is Red Matter 2. In terms of graphical fidelity, it's absolutely unreal. Hats off to the devs here. I have no idea what witchcraft they pulled off to do this, but Red Matter 2 deserves this award tenfold. Now for best roguelite, there were many on the headset this year, but I've got to give the award to one that came out and has had continued support throughout the entire run of the headset, and even before it when it came out on PC and Quest. That goes to The Light Brigade, one of my favourite VR games this year in terms of its setting, its gunplay, and its great roguelite gameplay. It stands tall above almost all the rest except for maybe Synapse for me, but it still peaks above Synapse a little bit. The Light Brigade is the best roguelite on the system, in my opinion. For best horror game, This is the game that kept me on edge the most throughout almost the entire run through and gave me the scariest moments that I've ever experienced in VR, and that goes to Resident Evil Village. And if you watch the playthrough, you probably are not surprised by this one. I have not been as scared as this on any other game on PSVR2. Even with Resi 4, Village stood above it as the scariest game I've played, and it's safe to say I'm not going to be revisiting the baby anytime soon. For best soundtrack, one soundtrack stood above the rest this year for me, and is one that I've actually had on repeat and played in the last video I uploaded on the channel. That does give it away, and the answer is Horizon Call of the Mountain. The soundtrack is absolutely sublime, same as the rest of the Horizon series, and it absolutely blew me away at certain points through the campaign, and it's one that I'd really love to get on vinyl because I do love it. So Horizon Call of the Mountain gets best soundtrack of 2023 for me on PSVR2. Turning things down a notch, we have Best Puzzler, a game that really gets you thinking and engaged for a long session of puzzle solving. There are many choices in many different genres for this one, but the best puzzler for me is simply puzzling places. An absolute sleeper hit for me that I've spent quite a lot of time in, with some incredible locations to piece back together, some really nice visuals, some great sound design, and a genuinely amazing experience for anybody that wants to ease themselves into a day of VR or wind down at the end of the day. Now we're turning things back up a notch with the best PvP game on PSVR2. This award goes to one that came out very recently, and that, to no one's surprise probably, is Breaches. Even though I absolutely adore Pavlov, Breaches has come out swinging with some of the best PvP gameplay I've ever seen in VR. Actual tactics are being put in place, the gunplay is very tight and good, and I've enjoyed every single second of this game even though I suck at it. Breaches definitely deserves best PvP on PSVR2. Next up, we have best social game. What is the best game to chill out with your mates in and just enjoy yourself? That's a very easy one to answer for me, because that is Walkabout Mini Golf. These guys have consistently put out new areas and new courses throughout the entire year and support so many players in each lobby if you want to play with a lot of your friends. And I've spent a lot of time with my mates just essentially chatting shit, for the lack of a better word. Going through the courses, enjoying the nice sights it has to show off, using the inbuilt voice chat and just enjoying ourselves. So for me, the best social game is easily Walkabout Mini Golf. Penultimately, we have the best shooter. Not to be confused with best PvP game, which can be pitting players against each other in any environment. Best shooter goes to the game which I think has the best gunplay and gun mechanics and shooting combat on PSVR2. If you've played this one, you probably already know what I'm going to pick, and that is Pavlov. While it might not have the tactical PvP nature of Breaches, so it didn't take that award, it is the best shooter with the best fundamental shooting mechanics, in my opinion, on PSVR2, and at the moment, in terms of that raw gunplay, it cannot be beaten. So best shooter goes to Pavlov. So that finally leaves us with my PlayStation VR2 Game of the Year. Overall, what did I enjoy playing through the most? And what do I think was the best game released this year on the platform? This was a very hard one to pick because I've enjoyed so many games this year on PSVR2, and there are so many games that deserve mentions on this list that just haven't really made it because of the different categories I've assigned, like Kayak VR I'd love to mention, Hubris I'd love to mention. There are countless others, but ultimately, the game which blew me away the most this year was one that came very, very late, and one that we're wrapping up very shortly. If that doesn't give it away, let me reveal it. My game of the year is Resident Evil 4 VR mode. It was a tough battle between Resi 4 and Resi Village, and while I do think Resident Evil Village is the better VR port, the stronger fundamentals of 4 made it an absolute treat to play through, and I genuinely loved it. The set pieces in this game are ridiculously good, the story is brilliant, the visuals are the best the Resi series has ever seen, and it's genuinely made me so excited to see where the Resi series goes next on PSVR 2, assuming Capcom continue this trend. I wasn't sold on some of the mechanics at the start, but by the end, I was smiling ear to ear, I really was, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Resi 4 VR mode. Hats off to Capcom for that, they really deserve it. So there we have it, wrapped up my PSVR 2 awards for this year. Thank you all for joining me. If there are any categories you'd like to see for next year, please do put them in the comments below, because I'm sure there's something obvious that I've missed because I'm stupid. If you've got a personal game of the year, please do let me know in the comments below what that is as well, because I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next video.